We're live. My mic is muted. Okay. So maybe you can hear me now. Okay, so that one is working. I think I need to mute the other mic, otherwise I might have sound come back. I can't hear myself. So please just let me know in the comments if the sound is okay. Okay, yes. Yay! Thank you. So we have sound, we have a face. We're off to a good start. I also have a fan going in the corner over there on my computer, so we don't have an all fall down like we did last week because, well, I think my computer overheated. So that could have been the problem, not sure. So I hope it's not too annoying. Sound is fine. Thank you, Andrew. So I've got hubby in the chat, mom in the chat, Alison in the chat. Hello, Alison. Great to have you here. Right, so I will be playing with my new journal tonight. No idea where this is going, just having lots of fun with my printables and experimenting. And tonight I'm going to have a messy play with some ink, and we will see where this goes from here. So all is going well on the technological front. We have lights, we have camera. Good evening, Sarah. Nice to have you here. I can hear a feedback. I think it's on my phone. I couldn't. So I'm using my webcam and my phone. So let's switch to my phone and then you will be able to see what's on my desk. Right. So you can see what's on my desk. Yay. Okie dokie. And what I have got going in this is it's really just a lovely grungy peeling paint, wallpapery, full of texture art journal. And I've had a scratch through my stencils and stamps. And so these were all one big stencil, and I've chopped them up so that they're easier to manage. I think, could be wrong, but this was an Australian brand. I think it was the Kaiser Craft ones. Anyway, there's no name on them, but I'm sure that's what they were. When I reorganized all my stencils, I cut these up because they were 4 on one big stencil, and there was no reason for it to be on one. So I've looked for designs that kind of go with the what I call wallpaper design. It's kind of a damask. So this one is more of a flourish. And then for fun, I've found this one that also matches that in a way. It's not identical. This is Tim Holt's stamp set and also his flourishes. And then I've got this that's kind of damask and the wood grains. So we will be playing with that as well tonight. I do have I did have on my desk until I made some space, you know, the famous push back and clear. My Tim Holtz there that are now sitting on my printer. I might have this or that matching stencil over there of Tim's. Let me have a quick look. There's the matching flourish. there's also Tim's, what he called Gothic. We might use that. So what I'm looking for is basically something that will go, and then of course my favorite fill-in type of stencils. I'm sure I had probably clipped past it in my keenness to get going. Or not. Maybe I don't own it. I really should have a catalogue. There it is. Should probably catalogue all my things, but then that means I'm not playing with my stuff. Cataloguing is sometimes quite a fun way to play in inverted commas. So, where to from here? I want to get going in the background, and then I have some ephemera that I'm going to cut up and add on, and I also have a tag that I want to play with. I want to get messy on the tag, and I want to choose a pocket because I want to put the tag in the pocket. It either could go in this pocket or it could go in one of those pockets. So let's have a think and see. Maybe I will go with that pocket because if I put one of these pockets on, I would then want to have to put it in the middle here, which is not a bad thing because I don't want to lose that detail. So decisions. Let's go with this pocket. So then that will help deciding what I'm going to do on the tag and where I'm going to put it. So I'm going to just, you could use your craft knife and ruler, paper cutting, tool, trimmer, whatever, to cut these out. I quite like using my craft knife and ruler, but I think I'll just go with scissors right now. I think it's actually faster. So I realized that July is my website's birthday month. I decided back in 2023 that I wanted to have my own website, and I set about in the January of learning how to do that. Bought myself some courses, did a whole lot of research on the best website building tools, etc., and taught myself basically how to do my own website. So, thanks, Sarah. Thanks for sharing. And so what I've decided to do for this week is have a 50% off sale in my web shop on my most popular downloads and printables. I'm just popping that out the way, and I'm going to just score this with the ball tool. That's got the pokey tool. I'm going to use the ball tool just on that line. And so these ephemera printables are on sale, and this journal is on sale along with a few other things. So I think I'm going to use some black ink on these edges. I'm just scoring so that it makes the folding easier. And I printed these on the 140 GSM, same as I've done for the book. Some of the other things I have printed on the 180 GSM paper, and I use double-sided matte photo paper for my printing. Evening, handcrafted by me. Can't remember. Can you say who you are? Because my goldfish brain I'm sure you told me last time. So I'm just going to use some black distress to ink the edges. And then before I ink the top, I'm going to just use my punch to chomp a little curve out. And I'm debating with myself whether I use my 1.5 inch punch or my 2-inch punch that's on the floor, of course. I think it's quite big. Let's go with the 1.5. So what I like to do is just make a punched. I'm not even going half, so there would be half. I'm going approximately half. Oh, no. 2/3, 1/3, I don't know. Yes. It's not a full circle if you put the two together. It's definitely makes more of an oval. So now we're going to decide where we're going to put this pocket. This side, that side. Let's have it on. I'm going to go with this side because then that leaves me all this nice space to play with stencils and things. So I am going to play with. So I'm going to use the bigger design that matches the stamp on here. And I'm going to use some aged mahogany because this is a nice deep red. It's one of my very first ink pads that I ever got. Running out of space so you can actually see what I'm doing. No, you still can't see up there with the fish. Anyway, I'm going to ink through there. I know I could use a brush, but I have this ink pad and I'm going to try and line it up at the top. I've always been an applicator person. I love these applicator tools and these big old square ones. I know Tim's come out with the rounder ones and there are lots of different brands out there, but this just works for me. I'm going to bring some in from the bottom. So I'm going darker at the top and the bottom of the page, and I'm just using what's left on my tool to blend it. Okay. I want to repeat some up there. And because repetition is always good in at least 3 places. I'm going to just let it out, much like I've done with all the designs on the papers. And again, I'm going to go nice and dark in that corner. There we go. Right. Now, let's see if I can get. I'm going to go. I don't think I washed this, and I don't know what it was, whether that was oil-based or not. So I'm going to just cut a piece of paper towel down and quickly just spray the stencil, make sure that it's clean before I start using it. Yep, I popped that away dirty. Bad girl. And this stencil hooks like crazy, so I'm trying, you can see there, I'm trying to just dab at what is from the stencil. go. Might be something on the other side. Not sure. Let's just do a quick dab. Right. I mean, I'm going to be using black, so in theory, I didn't need to do that, but I prefer to just work with a nice clean start. So I've got these designs there, and I feel like I need to repeat them up there. And I'm going to go with my black. And this is quite a fine design. So I'm just looking for my black brush. Where's the brush? So these are the brushes that I was talking about. These came out, well, I mean, they're makeup brushes really, but the craft industry started using them. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go from here over to there. So I'm going to overlap. And that's why I want to use the brush too, because the brush will get into these nice little details. And yeah, this is a funky fossil brush. And then I should be able to press through this bump that's going down onto the other page. So I really want to make this kind of focal like that. And then I'm going to wiggle it down into and just let it fade on that side over there. It should get exactly what I've done right into those corners, you know, into that join, because I'm right at the beginning of my book. So it's quite a big bump on the side. And I'm going to, because we're going to have the pocket here, I want to bring some design down into the pocket and just let it fade. So there we go. I'm going to make that a whole lot darker on the grey to make it show up. Oh, that looks great. Now, my pocket. Oh, I lost my pocket already in my desk. Upside down in the corner. So let's have a look and see where we're at. So when you are gluing a pocket, always put your base up. No, put your sides in and then your base up, because when you're sliding something in, hopefully then your whatever it is won't catch on the bottom too much, because it'll hopefully slide down the sides. So that is just something to be aware of. And I'm going to put this off to one side over here, and I'm just going to use some normal craft glue. So let's just pop that on there. Because this is photo paper, it is quite absorbent. So I'm putting more glue than I would normally. And I'm just going to twist it, hold it. I feel like I need to be an octopus. There we go. So let's just pop that down. Here. So if you're going to put quite a few things in your pocket, you can use these tabs, as I have done here. Or if you want a tight pocket, then you don't use the tabs. You would cut those off, and you would either use double-sided tape or glue just along that edge. Hi, Louise. Welcome. And then you will have a nice tight pocket, and it won't gape quite so much. So that's really great if you are perhaps using this bigger pocket on the side and you don't want things to slide off. So if you want to have a pocket, say like this, and you want it quite nice and tight, don't use these tabs, just put glue along the inside and you will then have a nice tight pocket. Right, now it is time to play with the tag. Let's see where we're going to go from here. So the tag is going to set something like that. Okie dokie. Now, time to make space on my desk so I can play. Great, push back and clear. So this is my black soot. Let's just get the right lids on the right things. Okay, I'm going to bring out my mat so we can make a delicious mess and not stress about staining. It is a fabric mat, so I know it does funny things on the screen. But what I want to do is some of this aged mahogany. I'm wanting to color the, as I said, this is a very old ink pad, so there's not a lot of juice left, but it's still functional. And so what I'm going to do is just spritz the color on there and dip it in and see what we get. And it's quite deceptive. There's a lot more there than it looks. Now I just need to plug in my paper, which of course is remote. So let's just plug in the heat gun. I don't like to leave it plugged in. Try not to make too much noise in the back there. Clunk, clunk. Go in, plug in. There we go. So I'm going to blow dry this and then I'm going to dip it again. Oh! So quite soft at this point. It doesn't have to be perfectly dry, and then I'm going to dip again. Alright, so now I'm going to just mop off that excess on this side and pick up everything that's left on that side. Give it a good old dry, and we're going to do that again because this side is, I'm using 300 GSM watercolor paper, and so it can handle quite a lot, but it's quite textured on that side, so I really need it to get into that grain. So let's give that a good old squish, smush. There we go. Let's see how that dries. And splat that in. I need more along the bottom, so we'll give a definite splat there. More along the top. we go. And again, I'm just going to take off the excess there and do one last splat. Whoops. Trying not to catch my cable. I've got the cable attached so that it doesn't run out of juice. But it's also a hazard, desk hazard. So rightio. So we're quite subtle at this point with our colors. And make sure that that is dry over here. Where to from here? Let's have a look see. So it's going to be in there like so. Oh, it's catching. Feels like it's catching. Yes, it's still catching. Need to slide it down the side. Right, now on this side, that's the lumpy bumpy paper side, I'm going to do some stenciling, and on this side I can do some stamping because it's nice and smooth. So let's go with some stenciling. Let's bring in a bigger stencil on the side just to be a little bit more dramatic. So we've got this nice big design, which is, and if you look at the stencil, it looks like it's been manually punched out that way. So I'm going to, as in like a die has been used, not a laser. Tim's designs are laser cut, so you don't have that edge. Not that it really matters with the brush, but I'm going to use a brush for this because using this tool, the stencil is quite thick and I don't want to lose some of the design along the edges. So with the brush, because you're wiggling it, you kick some of that, that ink goes right into those corners. And I'm going lighter on the edges so that you can still see some of that aged mahogany through, and then I'm going quite nice and dark in the middle, giving it kind of like an ombre, for want of a better description. So we're going to be nice and dark over there. And fading on the edges. Load it nice and dark down the middle. There we go. So that is quite dramatic. Now I'm going to add some vintage photo on my edges just to give it more of a vintage vibe. It's sort of now going to go in with those colors a little bit more. And I know that on my screen I can see that it's not picking up the intensity of the colors as I can see in person. It's quite a lot more faded. But the thing with these is to build lots and lots of layers of color, techniques. Now that's while I've got this out, let me just do this fade. And then I'm going to stamp over the top of that. could put this down and do this, but doing it in the air works for me. Right, let's just clean that off. And nope, let's not mix up my lids. And clean my desk. Right, what am I going to put on this side? Let's have a look see. I think I'm going to use some of these cute little kids. So these guys are also on half price sale. This is the little girl from the photo that I bought a couple of weeks ago, but I think I'm going to go with one of the little dudes. I like this guy. And I think I'm going to go again with my, no, I need to find it. I've got to just stand up and scratch for my hobbies then. Yes, decal edge. Yes, I know, Sarah, you also do live, so you know what it's like when you looking at the video and then you see the actual project. It's like chalk and cheese. So I'm going to come in quite a bit because I want him to be a whole lot more narrow. And yeah, the cameras, especially when you're working with red, cameras just don't seem to pick up the intensity somehow. You could do this with Tim's decal trimmer, but this pair of scissors I've had, I don't know, I've been married 28 years. That's giving things away. And I know I did my kitchen tea photos with these. So these have lasted me a good long time. It's funny how things come and go in fashions and styles. It's like clothes, I guess. There we go. And I'm going to give him a brown image too. Okay, so we're going to have him on there. And I need him towards the top. Like that. There we go. Okay, so that's looking good. And I'm going to now stamp with this. I'm not even going to take it off the block. I'm just going to, off the backing, I'm going to leave it like that. And I'm going to use the VersaFine Clear Morning Mist. And I'm basically going to just ink up all the way down the middle. The ink pad is not quite as wide as, so let's just see. So I'm going to have it go off the top. And now is probably a good time to, I'm trying to see if I'm straight, which is difficult. And there we go. I'm going to just guess something like, if it doesn't print perfectly, well, this is a grungy, rustic look. So it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. I'm going to hold it in place and look, perfect. reflection. That was just good luck. Now, in my mat, I'm going to use alcohol. And I just keep refilling this Stamperia thing. I should really cross this out and write 99% isopropyl alcohol, because that's what's in there. Great. So now I know I used brown on that edge, but now I'm going to blacken the edge a little bit more. Let's just do the same on that side while I have it in my hands. Straight is overrated, I get that. Yeah, that was, I mean, pure luck, but I'll take it. I'll take it. Okay, so where are we at with this? Let's pop in there. Okay. So I'm going to glue them down. Again, straight-ish. Ish. There's a lot of ish. Pop the lid back on. Now, just for fun, because we have all this space at the bottom, even though you're not going to really see it, I'm going to come from this corner and I'm going to bring in some aged mahogany. Now, I don't have an aged mahogany brush for that. I'm going to try and use my applicator tool, which is going to be tricky because it is a very fine stencil and I'm going to have to just press and wiggle quite a lot. Let's see how we do. Oh, it's very subtle. I would like it darker than that. As I say, it's going to be in the pocket mostly, but it's there. You can see it's there. Right. And that sounds quite good. Pop that back into there. Right, I need to bring some of this warmth that I've got to this page and paper. So I'm going to bring some of the vintage photo in as well. It really is such a cute picture. These kids are they're just, I don't know, special somehow. So bringing some of that color down here. And on this side, just turning it upside down because it's easier to work upside down. Whoops, and there we catch the cable again. Sorry about that. Got seasick. I really should replace this, but it's my favorite sponge. But it gets used a lot. Okay, so now we have some more rich color going on. And now I'm popping that in. Let's see. I need repeat some of the stenciling over here, stamping. So I am going to ink that up. And I'm going to take it off the backing because I want it flexible. I want it flexible because I don't want square edges. So although I'm going to ink edge to edge, which I'm doing and you can't see a thing, bring it back on stage in the center. Rightio. Let's pop that out again. And I'm going to turn it this way because I can then just see what's going on. And I'm going to use that edge as just a starting point, and I'm going to just push randomly. That right, that worked. So now turn it around so that I can get in this corner. And focus over here. Here. And I'm going to go off this edge, straight edge, up the side. There we go. And I'm going to use what's left on that, and I'm going to go down that edge. And I'm holding it up intentionally so that it's not printing properly. Now what have I got left? I've got a very random patch left, so let's pop that there. Oh, that is working. Let me just clean my desk because my cover is going to be getting, not that it matters, as I say, it's a grungy thing, but you don't want grunge necessarily where we hadn't planned it. Okay, let's, well, I've got a nice alcohol piece of paper. Let's just clean the stamp before we pop it back. More so that it doesn't make everything else dirty in my drawer than to actually clean the stamp, if you know what I mean. Right. Let's see what else can we add to this page. We've now got quite a blank area over there. What have I got in the way of other things? So I have this matching tag. I've also got some tickets. And I've got an envelope with a little matching thing. So should we go with the little envelope? How about we have the envelope, and the envelope is only glued around the sides, and then we can put that tag in. Aha! I like it. So this was the envelopes that I have added to the A4 designs. So you get sheets of the repeat patterns. There's 8 different repeat patterns like this. And then I've also added these 2 different size envelope patterns for you to trace, to print on the back of the repeat designs, and then each one has a different design on the inside, so you can mix and match. You can have same, or do what I've done here and have 2 different ones. So what I'm going to do is I want my teeny tiny squeezy machine, and I'm going to put a very skinny row of blue along the outside edges so that I got a pocket to be able to put my tag into. So I'm going to pop it. How long is my tag? Let's put it over. Oh, I can't make up my mind. Let's go further down because I seem to have ended my stencil there. Right. Commit, girl, commit. So we have lots of nice repeating things going on here. And I've just got the wood grain printed on the back of that, and I'm going to just put my lid on. If I've got this in my stand, I don't always put the lid on, but I've learned if I'm not using it for a while, it's always better to put the lid back on. So let's cut this out. Let's get the ribbons out of the way. I have ribbons on my things so that I can find them when I put something else on top of them, because I live in a Bermuda Triangle of my own creation where I'm forever having just used something and then can't find it 5 minutes later. Why? Because I've dumped cutouts or paper or a book or something on top of it, and it's so annoying. And then the other reason, of course, is because I'm a teacher and I have a bad habit of, when I'm teaching in person, leaving my tools on somebody else's desk. And then I can spot them when I'm going on the hunt for whatever it is that I've left behind. So most of my tools have bright pink or some color ribbon attached to them. Right, let's hunt. Let's fix it. Again, see, this one also has bright pink ribbon and it accidentally got chomped. So let's just pop this in the middle of that hole. Ish. There we go. And ink it, of course. I did put some distressing on the tags as well. And some things you will see have slightly more than others. And of course, this side now needs distressing. And what can we put on this side? Let's use this stamp. We haven't used this stamp. And how about we stamp in red? Because we can. It's quite a bright red. I might not make it finish all the way down. I'm probably going to just start it at the top and let it fade. So we're going to just lay it down. Trying to make it grungy on purpose, like my paper. Yay, that worked! It's actually quite hard to stamp badly. Oh, now I've got this deliciousness on here. Where can I use it? Where indeed? Okay, first, clean the desk. Alcohol is not just for drinking. Let's see what we've got left. Maybe I can bring some in there. Yeah, I've got quite a lot there. So let's just see what happens when we aim. There is okay. Maybe there we go. Right. Let's again just clean quickly. I think maybe that's got enough on it. Yes. How to make grunge even more grunge. So here we go. We have quite the. Sorry, I'm just trying to tidy up my chaos here. Always land up working in like a 6-inch square. So now I can add perhaps some of these other tickets. Now let's have a darker ticket. So these are just some that I have already cut on my brother's scan and cut. And let's just, for fun, stencil on the back of this, because I still have some black left on my brush. There we go. And maybe let's see if we line that up in the middle at the top. Make a nice dark stencil in with it fade. That works. I am just having some fun. It really is just a case of building. Now I need water. Oh, sorry, there I go, bumping line. Oh, not again. I'm going to have to do something. Let's just hook that up there so that we don't do that again in the last 5 minutes. So literally have 5 minutes left. So we have that and then we have that. And what else can we add? What about a red tag up there to balance that? Okay. And then I'm going to call it done, because otherwise it's going to be a bit much. Is it ever too much? I don't think so. And again, let's just equal back. Oh, that was silly. I'm going to be doing that anyway. So let's see. Let's pop that there to balance that. And then we can have these there, up there. This does close with the circle that I put on it. This was a misprint. My printer decided to, I don't know, it ran out of Ethernet. It's a Wi-Fi printer and something went wrong. So I cut it out and used it anyway, because waste not, want not. And I'm going to just glue that in place. It's never too much. I agree, Louise. Thank you so much for the compliments, everyone. It's been a lot of fun. Thanks for keeping me company. Next Wednesday, I will be on my hollybobs. So I will record a video for the same time to be here on YouTube. It won't be obviously on Facebook, but it'll be on YouTube. And so you won't go without your Wednesday fix. For those of you who were used to Sarah from Funky Fossil being on a Wednesday, I am now tempted to grab my red brush and make that a little redder, because now that I know what that does, I feel like you could get away with a little bit of red ink. As Louise said, it's never too much. Right. That's perfect. Great stuff. I'm going to stop while I'm ahead. So, as I say, thanks everybody for keeping me company. And next week you will have a video that will go live at the same time. And I will see you then. So, if I can find my mouse in my chaos, there we go, hidden. I will say goodbye.